Hello Barbie lovers and beyond, and welcome back to my channel. This is Mermaid the 90s Barbie, and in this channel we do tons of amazing stuff related to Barbie, so don't forget to subscribe if you don't want to miss out. Now in today's video, we're going to be doing something so exciting and something that I've been wanting to do for so long. We're doing my first reroot ever. Over the years, I've rebodied, restyled, and transformed quite a few dolls, but never reroot one. I've always wanted to try my hand at rerooting, but something was always holding me back. And it's time to let it go. So we're going to be rerooting this beautiful Odile, and for this reroot, my goal is to avoid using glue altogether. I've heard many horror stories with glue on dolls' hair, and I just don't want to have to do anything to do with that. Luckily, after watching every tutorial there's ever been available, and believe me, I'm so grateful for all of them, I believe I've found the best technique to reroot a doll without glue, so this is what we're doing today. Since my first reroot is Odile, if all goes well, I should give her a 90s body and some fabulous styles. So now it is the second part of my 90s Odile transformation video. Speaking of that video, I truly want to thank my darling Ariane from the dreamy Pastel Kingdom Barbie Nation, because Ariane actually mentioned my 90s girl when 90fying, love that term, the Odile sisters. It was so kind and so sweet, and you should absolutely go and check out that video on Barbie Nation, because these gals are a true 90s princess fantasy, and I'm just in love. Ariane darling, thank you so much. The kind words about my 90s Odile mean the world, especially coming from you. Thank you so much. I also have to thank my dear and super talented friend Yanis, because without his valuable help, I don't know if I'd have mustered the courage to do this. Over the years, Yanis has given me so many golden tips on rerooting and everything doll related, to be honest, from creating a rerooting tool to the hair I should use and so much more. So yeah, thank you darling, I always appreciate it. Isn't our community just the best?
Ever?
So back to today's venture. Remember way back when I first got my Odiles and posted them on social media and on YouTube while teasing a big project? Well, when I did my first 90s Odile transformation, I told you all this wasn't my big project. Well, guess what?
This ain't it either.
But it's practice for it, so stay tuned because it's going to be coming. Another thing before we begin, what's really interesting to me is that the Odile I'm going to be transforming today has a very different complexion from my original Odiles, which, as you can see here, in contrast to my first unboxed Odile, is much lighter. It still has a lovely tan, but it is much lighter, so keep that in mind while choosing her from up close or searching a body for her. Apparently she comes in 2 tones, which is nice and certainly gives her much more versatility for us collectors who are looking to transform her. Also important to know that since this was initially practice, like I said, I haven't gotten like the best saran hair ever. The hair I'll be using for this project is just some affordable extensions I found at a local store. I will be, of course, using much better hair for my future Odile project, but I think it's going to be interesting to see what we can do with a much more affordable and accessible option, especially if you're also just starting out with rerooting like me. And so now, without any further ado, OMG, I'm so nervous and excited at the same time. It's time to start my first reroot ever. So let's get into it. So for the first step of our rerooting process, I will be removing this doll's head and everything that is attached to it, such as her crown. And then I'm going to proceed with removing her hair, but with a little twist. One thing I've seen many people struggle when it comes to rerooting doll's hair is actually ending up rerooting too much hair and making the doll's hair too thick. So I figured that maybe while removing her hair, I could actually keep one individual strand of hair as a reference point to know exactly how much hair I need to reroot. So let's get into it. So I cleaned her head with acetone just to make sure there's no pink underneath the blonde hair. And regarding this step, I would like to advise you to be very careful not to ruin her makeup because I almost got her eyeliner while doing so. So be careful for the acetone not to touch her eyes or lips. Now thankfully this girl's screening is pretty heavily embedded on her, I guess, because it's not easy to get it out. Even though I did a little mistake, no paint actually came off the face, but still you have to be very careful with this step because you never know. Also, for my darlings out there that have a manicure, please be careful and wear gloves because you could ruin yours if you forget about it. And I think that now she's ready for us to start our rerooting process. However, before we do that, we have to make our rerooting tool. And we're going to do that by merging this art knife or X-Acto knife with one of these needles. Unfortunately, I could not find the longer needles that are usually used for rerooting. However, I do hope that these will be okay after being attached here. But first, I'm gonna do a little test and see which one fits her better. So I'm thinking this smaller one or maybe the middle-sized one. Let me check. No, this seems too big for her. So this one seems great. It easily went inside one of her holes without even having reheated the head, so I'm thinking I will be using this one. Okay, let's see it in practice. A note here, please be very careful while doing this because this is a very sharp knife and you could end up cutting your fingers, so be very careful. And there you have it. We just made our very own reroot tool for very cheap. Now let's give it a little try. Okay, obviously a longer needle would have worked much better, but still this is good enough and we're going to work with what we have. So let's get on with our rerooting. To start our rerooting, we're going to heat the head in some boiling water to avoid any tears and make sure to reheat regularly. Then for this technique, we're going to take a hair strand, fold it in half, and tie a knot in the middle, creating 2 equal parts. Then we're going to plug our rerooting tool through one of the holes, pass 1/2 of the strand into the needle, make sure to wet the tip first, it's gonna be a lot of help, and pull so that the tip of the hair is out of the head and the knot stays in. Then we're going to plug our rerooting tool in the right next hole and take our remaining half of the strand, sticking from the doll's neck, pass it through the needle and pull from the inside out again. And there you have it. No matter how hard you pull this hair, it ain't going nowhere, and we didn't use any glue whatsoever. All you have to do now is repeat like 1,000 times. You can create some knotted hair strands in advance, or you can keep making them as you go. Personally, this is how I prefer to do it, to have better control of how much hair I'm plugging and adjust accordingly if I put too little or too much. Don't forget to use the guide we made earlier too. So before we move any further, let's prepare our new part line, which is probably the biggest and hardest part of this reroot. So I have my pencil right here, and here, as you can see, right in the middle is her original part line, but I have already drawn a new one on the side because I want her to have a side part. And basically I just did a very faint line just for me, just to see where I'll create some new holes. And now, after reheating the head once more, I'm going to take my needle and start with an already existing hole and then just create some new ones exactly where I want them to be. Now be really careful to have the head heated for this part, and here as you can see we have another existing one because you don't want to rip the original holes. So yeah, just making small holes in a straight line. I'm not gonna go all the way to the back like the original. I'm just stopping here at another originally existing hole. So yeah, this right here is my new part line. Okay, now we're gonna move on with the process and fill the head with more hair, and I'm going to leave the part line for last, and when it's time I'm gonna show you how I do my part line. So here's a little reroot update for our Odile. As you can see, her head is filling up beautifully with super long blonde hair, and I am obsessed. It's definitely a time-consuming process, but I'm enjoying it. And I think I may actually have put a little too much hair, which means I will start gradually going on to less hair. Although I don't mind it because I like my girls with thick, super long hair. So let's proceed and I'll see you in a while. Okay, just one more update. As you can see, our head is filling up beautifully everywhere, and at this point I just wanted to share one more little tip. As you can see, I have ignored the original hairline, which is somewhere around here, and this is where my hairline is going to be. We're almost reaching that point, but I just wanted to say that when you're filling the head with hair, especially on the back part, you might want to add a bit thicker strands as to cover up everything. And what I also wanted to say is that when you're rerooting, you also want to make sure that up until your hairline, you are rerooting in the direction that you want your hairline to be. So up until here, I am combing this part to go like this and the other one to go like this. But when you reach the point where you want your hairline to be, you have to be combing the hair like this from the other direction just to cover up everything at the top of the head. So I need to add a bit more hair here and then do the frontal hairline up until this part and then up until this part. And then I'm going to come back to finish up with our hairline. I'm really happy with the progress so far. Okay everyone, so I have proceeded with actually rerooting her hairline up until where we're going to do our part line. And actually it was a bit terrifying because the holes that are on the hairline are so much smaller and narrower than all the other holes on the head. So I actually ended up using the slimmest needle for this part just to make sure that I don't rip any hole apart. And of course I kept reheating the head again and again because I had a little scare, but thankfully it came out just fine. She does look so beautiful, and we are now at the final steps. So what I'm going to do for the hairline is I'm going to fill this line over here with much thicker strands of hair and then divide this line into to create a hairline, and hopefully it will come out great. So after that I'm going to give her a boil wash, and because the hair isn't, like I said, the best quality, I think I'm also going to straighten it out and of course give her her new body. So let's proceed. my wow. This part line came out super beautiful. I think it looks so natural and beautiful, and I didn't have to do any thatching or anything else. So basically it worked, and I can't believe it's worked because like I said, this is my first time. So I thickly rooted this part here in the middle, one line, and then divided it in two. And let me tell you, when that hairline was revealed,
Girl.
amazing. So now to set it all and secure the part line and everything else, I will be giving her a boil wash. But first I'm going to take some ribbon and just tie her hair like this, just to make sure that everything is down as it is supposed to. So let's see it in practice. Okay, so her boil wash is done, and like when I say that this turned out better than I expected, like it turned out better than much better than I expected. Oh my wow, I am in love with her. I'm obsessed. She's gorgeous. And now I actually want to take an extra step and straighten her hair with the hair straightener, just to make sure it's as smooth as possible. And if you decide to do this, my advice to you is keep the hair straightener at the lowest possible setting. This is very important. Never use a hair straightener that doesn't have settings. And also make sure the doll's hair is still damp. Mine is still damp from the boil wash, but I will still be spraying her just to make sure. So be sure to do that. It's really, really important. Let's go. Wow, what a journey this has been. Her hair is finally ready. I am so happy and so excited. As you can see, it looks fantastic, shiny, long, and so blonde. I'm actually having a hard time to believe that I pulled this off. I know you've seen the edited version, obviously, but this took a minute for me, like took a good minute for me. But she's finally ready. She is looking amazing. And it's time to finally rebody her and give her her new 90s body. Now, my initial thought was to give her a shiny body, which is my favorite 90s body. of all of them. However, unfortunately, the shiny body that I have wasn't a good match for her upon further checking. So I decided to go with this one, which seems to be perfection for her. This is the classic TNT 80s and 90s body. Unfortunately, I do not know which doll it belongs to because I had this on my pile of bodies to use and I don't know which one she is. However, my guess is that she's a regular like Barbie from the 90s. Like I've said in the previous video, this seems to be perfect for Odile because she does have a bit of a tan, and since actually this girl is a bit lighter than my previous Odile, I think that this will be a perfect match for her. And then we can finally admire her in her full rerooted glory and try on some amazing Super Barbie core outfits. So let's get right to it. Our fabulous rerooted Odile is now in her new 90s body, and does she look amazing or what?
I just cannot deal with this Odile.
She looks so beautiful. As you can see, this body is a perfect match literally for her, no difference in shade. And I think it's so amazing that it's so easy to find a good 90s body match for Odile. I'm really happy with this transformation, and so without any further ado, let's try some fabulous outfits. Okay, that was everything and then some. I'm actually in awe and a little hesitant to believe this actually happened, but it did. So we need to talk about the aftermath. It went much better than I ever expected, especially for my first reroot. So I think I've learned a few more things now that I've actually done it, like...
For real?
So here's a few tips I want to share from what I gathered after this first attempt at rerooting. First, it is absolutely possible to reroot your doll without glue. And I'm so happy for this. This was my ultimate goal and I just love this technique because it helped me achieve that goal exactly. She's beautiful. Look at her, fully rerooted, no glue whatsoever. So yeah, absolutely perfect on that front. 2. The hair I used for her, while not being the best quality, was actually very manageable and pretty okay, all things considered. So if you're just starting now, I would recommend not going with the best quality like Saran or something. Something like this is absolutely great for your first time, just to practice and get it out of the way. So even if you do some mistakes, which of course I did some, it won't matter because the hair won't be like expensive or anything, so you won't have to worry about ruining or wasting your hair that you paid good money for. And also, it turned out great. So yeah, no complaints there. Third, the needles I used for this project are simple sewing needles, and although as you can see it is possible and doable to reroot a Barbie with them, trust me when I say that having had a longer needle, this procedure would have been much more convenient and quick. So I've already ordered some, and when I do my next reroot, I will be sharing details if they're good. Which brings me to my next and fourth tip, which is that rerooting isn't actually hard, but it is very time consuming. I'm almost certain that even if I had the best hair ever quality-wise and the ideal needle, this process would still be time consuming. I was plugging and plugging hair and there still were hair to plug. So I suggest you're prepared. Once you get the hang of it, you can even do this while listening to music or having your fave podcast or show playing. At least this is what I did. Because like I said, the process isn't so hard once you get the hang of it. It's just a bit repetitive and requires attention to some specific steps. I used to think rerooting was this complex, big, scary thing, and it's actually so doable. It just takes a little time. But let me tell you, it's absolutely, most definitely worth it in the end. I know this may sound silly to all the amazing creators out there doing it for so long, but let me tell you, I almost cried every time I was getting closer to the final result. And of course, when I finished the project and saw this gorgeous doll, it is so fulfilling and so rewarding. One last thing, I would advise you to be careful with the hairline. I did not exactly know this, seeing as this is my first time, but the hairline holes are so much smaller than all the other holes on the head, so be very careful while rerooting these. Use the needle with the smallest possible head. I actually had to change mine, like I said earlier, and keep reheating the head while doing this to avoid any tears. So as for the outfits of our stunning gal, well, after her mane turned out so long, which I didn't expect, I couldn't help but try a Totally Hair inspired outfit for her, and I used our latest Totally Hair fashionista dress, which I think was a perfect match for her. I was very tempted to crimp her hair, but I wanted her to be more versatile, but maybe in the future. I was also dying to see her on a winter style fabulous look, and it did not disappoint. In case you're wondering, the clothes for the winter look I think were from a winter color reveal advent calendar. And of course, my favorite one has to be the last one. I have now removed the train, but seriously, the iconic Barbie extra fancy dress. I wanted a look that's very obviously inspired by the legendary Pink Premiere Gala Collection Odile, which is why I'm closing with this.
Wow.
She is such a bombshell in this. I am obsessed. I mean, she's always a bombshell, but like in this dress, wow, girl, so Barbie-core, so fabulous. She's giving what she needs to be giving. And just look at her with her mermaid pink-haired sister. An actual dream. So, was this a journey or what? I'm actually feeling a little emotional right now. Like I said, this is something I've been wanting to do for years. but something was holding me back. So once more, I have to thank the exquisite designer and dreamer Angel Kent for giving us the icon that Odile is, because she gave me that little push I needed to actually start customizing and creatively experiment with my dolls. Your girls have been a huge source of inspiration and just amazing all over. And of course, thank you all so much for watching. This video was obviously a little late, but I think it was so worth it. Such a big moment for me. Now, don't forget to catch the first part of my 90s Odile transformation and stay tuned for my next Odile project to come. If you want to see more photos of these stunning queens and my Barbie life and shenanigans, don't forget to follow me on my Instagram and on my Dollstagram right here. And if you did enjoy this video, also don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you know every time I upload a new one. Again, thank you all so much for watching and following this journey with me. It means everything. Until next time, do all the things you love, enjoy your dolls to the max, dare to experiment and express yourself through them, and of course, keep a positive attitude because it really does change everything. Peace!